Welcome back. Oh god, I already screwed it up. Welcome back to the show, everybody. One of the major problems that I have been faced with in the volunteer build is building it to a very specific style. What that means is that I'm trying to have round headlights that mount somewhere within this vicinity here that make it look like that old school 30s Ford sedan style. That's what I'm going for on this one. So I've been long at it, and it's one of those days where it just turns out that the work's got to go ahead of the filming. I haven't really been having anything set up in the background for time lapse or talking to the camera a lot because I've just been trying to figure out the best way to actually get everything on here. What I actually ended up coming up with was a bracket that would go across the frame rail and then have two uprights to where I can fasten my headlights to. And that's what this looks like. So I'm still working on getting everything together, but I do have my two pocket brackets, if you will, or the side bolt brackets where this will actually sit on top of the frame rail on either side and then have a bolt, probably two, run through it. And then I'm going to position these uprights and then get them cleaned up and welded on. The intention of the uprights is that they are going to come upright into the center of this, behind the fender, but then poke out just a little bit over the top. I'm planning on adding some kind of 90-degree angle iron or something to the bracket and the uprights so that I can mount the headlights to that. Okay, so now I have figured out how I'm going to mount my headlights. I've got the bracket drying outside right now. I've got my two sides of the bracket, the cross rail, the uprights, and some tabs that I found that I was able to weld on. I'm going to let that dry. Now is back to the more important part of the headlights. That was one big headache I had to figure out, but I had to figure that out so I knew where I was going to put my wiring. Now it's time to work on the body side of the vehicle and see exactly what I can do to get these connectors together. I should have all the diagrams I need. I've got my headlight for reference. I just need to figure out what's high and low coming from the car and turn signals. So let's do that. blinded by the light. And in today's episode, what I'm going to be working on is I've gotten a box of deliveries of some of those components that I still need. Let's go ahead and get started and see exactly what we need to do today on the Volunteer. I already have my headlights figured out. I already have my wiring harness installed and all of my lighting controls. I basically have all of my wiring already ran to the back of the car, ready for the tail lights and the license plate light. I can't forget about the license plate light. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to run that yet, but I have the parts that I need, and I should be able to come up with something that works for today. The tail lights, again, I'm trying to emulate the old 1930s style of vehicle. I have chosen an LED style Lincoln Zephyr designed teardrop tail light. This tail light should be able to give me running light, brake light, and turn signal functionality all in one. So, if you happen to be familiar with those cutscenes in SpongeBob SquarePants where the French narrator's like, several hours later. Yeah, that and then some. Time got away from me. It just happened to be one of those days where the work's it's gotta get done. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to get everything done right the first time, or I had issues and I had to work through it, etc., etc., etc. However, there is good news. We have taillights. That's awesome. So the taillights work. I also had to figure out where my license plate bracket and license plate light was going to go. That was probably about an hour and a half of the past 4 or 5 hours just figuring that out and getting that sorted on its own. And then making sure all the wiring was good, checking over everything, making sure everything works. But everything works, and I think it looks pretty good. I think going with the black on the chrome bezels was a really good choice. Ties in with the rest of the car, it doesn't stand out too much, and being that it is only Plastidip, if whatever future buyer wants to change their minds, all they've got to do is unbolt it and peel it off. So it's something that can be reversible, but I think it definitely makes it look a lot better in the black on the orange car. Oh, hi! These are good wheel cylinders.
Yes, they are. Such a good wheel cylinder, aren't you? Oh, yes. Stop.
Good wheel cylinders. Bad wheel cylinders. Let's fix that here on the Yankee Auto Systems. And so, I'm going to hope that today's episode of the Volunteer Build series here on the Yankee Auto Systems is going to be a quick and short one. It's straightforward. I just have to replace wheel cylinders on the car. There's not really anything else that I'm planning on doing today, so let's just hope that today is quick and easy. Let's go ahead and get the car jacked up, get the time lapse set up, and get to work. Alright, now that I've got the drums off on both sides of the vehicle, what I'm going to work on now is loosening all of the components that are related to the wheel cylinders. I like to do this first, as opposed to going ahead and taking, say, the mounting bolts or the brake line bolt all at once, because if I make sure that they're all loose first, I know that I'm not going to run into any issues that I wasn't expecting. So I'm going to go ahead and loosen all of the components first, and then remove everything. After I get everything loose, I'm going to work on winding down this adjuster. I don't have all of the tools I needed here today, just because I'm a big dummy. And I'm going to wind down the adjuster so that gives me the ability to leave the shoes on the backing plate. Little did I know that that wasn't going to work, and I was going to have to remove the shoes anyway. And just have enough room to get the spring off and move the shoes away so that I can remove the wheel cylinder. Let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so now that I have both rear wheel cylinders taken care of, it's time to jack up the front of the car, and I'm going to start trying to exchange some of this brake fluid. There's a lot of nasty brake fluid in there, so I'm going to try and suck it out through all the lines first. It's going to get airbound, but I'd rather get everything out that I can before I start putting new fresh fluid in. It's also going to help me to get the front brakes bled out as well. Now, this isn't going to be the final finishing point of my brakes. I'm still going to try and get someone to help me pressure bleed these, just so that one, I can watch how they actually function, and two, make sure that any air is out of the system. But while I'm here by myself today, I can at least use my brake fluid exchange machine and get the basic stuff done. So let's go ahead and do that. Well, alright then. Mission accomplished. I got my rear wheel cylinders taken care of. I got most of the brake system bled out as best as I could. I had some issue with the front brakes. The left front brake caliper was actually hanging up. I had a pad that got mislodged. I had to fix that and figure it out, but I was able to correct that. As far as on the back of the wheel cylinders, I'm not able to get a whole bunch of fluid coming out of it. I've had it open trying to gravity bleed it for about 40 minutes, and I haven't gotten anything yet. So I think finalization of the brakes is going to have to wait until I have someone else here available to help me and lend their foot so I can get this pressure bled out and hopefully all of the brakes sorted for good. Thanks for making it to the end of the Make sure to like and subscribe to New Yankee Auto Systems and follow us on all of our socials. We have Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. Everything should be right here for you. And with that, see you on the next one.